Mitram and Bandhu, welcome to South Asia Maps Education Channel. This is your presenter, Dr. J. Reddy. Mitram and Bandhuvam, if you are new to my education channel, South Asia Maps, which has more than 330 immaculately made presentations, you can go to South Asia Maps J. Reddy and look at them and enjoy them. And we are today talking about the fascinating topic, human ecology predicament, part 93. That means there are 92 posts before this. California, the golden state, very important state. A lot of people say in the world, if you rank the countries or sub-countries, sub-nationalities in the rank after United States, perhaps China and Japan, California is third or fourth or something like that in the GDP and so on. That is the traditional paradigm, cornucopia paradigm, social paradigm. Today we are going to talk about that and give you a different outlook. After this presentation, we'll have totally different way of looking at socio-political historical events. So this is ecological view of the human history, taking the California as today's example. California dream ends. The faltering of California dream is the title of the presentation. California, the golden state on the Pacific coast of United States, stays at immense carrying capacity deficits. This is not a political social point of view, this is the ecological view of the human history. California is a very important state that is around about 423,000 square kilometers. That means 0.423 million square kilometers. Its homeland or the parent land, United States, is 10 million. That means if USA has $10, Californians will have around about 42 cents or so. $10, 42 cents. That's what you can say. 50 cents almost. 333 million people live in the United States. So 40 million people live. That means almost 12% of the population. Here, broadly about the Bay Area, the famous the San Francisco and Silicon Valley and so on. Coastal ranges here. Los Angeles will be somewhere here. And you have Central Valley here, Sacramento Valley, San Juan Valley, Northern Klamath Mountains overlooking the continuing into Oregon Territory. And we have a basin and range, ridges and so on. Mojave Desert and Sonora Desert continuing to southern Baja California and Mexican regions. So, in order to make this topic little bit less time intensive, I will not go over the political history, but you have to have some understanding of the political history. I will quickly read out that for you. If you are very curious to know more about it, you can stop at this stage, the video, and read about it as per your requirements and convenience. California, the Silicon Valley, Golden State, and so on. There was the territory during 1840s, the Spanish-Mexican, U.S.-Mexican wars. The land was annexed to the United States Dominion. At that time, it has a 200,000 people, that is 0.2 million people, that is less than 1/4 million people. That is the size of the many thousands of the towns in India. And 1863 railway lines were built. Then 1900s oil discoveries were done. The kerosene and whale oil time and lubrication used. The automobile introduction. The California produced in 1903. Let me explain a little bit. And 4 million barrels of oil, very big at that time. Today also 4 million barrels is not a small amount. The The Thomas Edison's discoveries, patents were brought. Hollywood industry built at the time. The universal basic education introduced. Everybody going to school. This was a leader on that. And then water diversion projects in this Central Valley region, and lot of agricultural improvement. In fact, California Central Valley produces almost the 80-90% of vegetables, the total North America, lot of avocados. It's essentially a food land of North America, the Central Valley. We are somewhere here, and highways were built, and lot of automobiles, 40 million people. Everybody almost runs a car, not discounting the buses, trucks, vehicles, and commercial vehicles, and so on. 1940s, the Japanese military rised across the Pacific Ocean, lot of defense investment, shipyards, and all those things. Then the post-World War II emergence of military industrial complexes, niches, lot of defense contract, military contract. Then the Cold War started. Even during the Cold War started, after the rise of the Soviet Union, aerospace industry brought, and ports of San Francisco, Stanford University established Moffett Field, epicenter of development, radio, aerospaces, and Stanford University encourages students commercialize its ideas, like seek the venture capitals, means essentially funding from the entrepreneurs or the people who want to invest it, and birth of the Silicon Valley, higher education, community colleges, transition to integrate transistors, integration circuits, Britishers, all the internet Britishers, microprocessors, all they have their roots, origin, or development, or major contribution in this area. These big companies, tech companies, HP, Intel, Google, Oracle, all they have origin here, their headquarters. Then the next came high cost. Now, today, the California is considered to be a declining state, high cost of living and low home ownership by the people, high median house prices, high poverty, high homelessness, high prices of everything. Cost of living is expensive. Dense high-rise buildings and apartments, they push the poor to the neighborhood, segregation lot, education based upon the zip code. Zip code education means only privileged areas you to get good schools, and so on. 1991, end of the Cold War, the collapse of the United States, a decline of military industrial complexes, then the rise of globalization, financialization, importing the stuff from others, financialization, printing the currency a lot and sending it overseas, importing the real goods. 40 million colossals live in this land. Well, that is the political history. We try to go over quickly. Let's superimpose on that the ecological history. That is the key point we are talking about. What are the ecological points we are talking about? We will go over. We have been discussing these ecological points before a lot of times, Mitram, and to be that, today we are looking at this. This is the California 93, California dream floundering. All these points we are going to discuss are there present, especially in the first part, the first 20 years, so the taking over, drawing down those. You can go and look at them. So coming back to this. And these are the takeover, humans taking over the land for their benefit, replacing the competitors, flora and fauna, drawing down the fossil fuels, aquifers, water diversion, enhancing the carrying capacity. Homo colossus, here we see here 40 million people. They are very big resource consumers, essentially the giants, each one running in a very big car, and so on. Then the dawn of age of exuberance in North America, and the Californian aspect of age of exuberance, 4 or 5 centuries of affluence and progress. Afterwards, we have post-age of exuberance after the World War. And what is diachronic competition? The land today lives in diachronic competition, redundancy anxiety, huge amount of human predicament. So these are the chronological events. This is the broadly ecological overlaying, taking over of the land in this time after the wars, then drawing down of the oils and fossil fuels, minerals, metals, then the Californian age of exuberance, and that means affluence and everybody migrated there and so on, especially a good era, good time. Then the slowly after the World War II decline of post age of exuberance, and now the starting of the globalization, financialization, software industry. Even the age of exuberance ended, still people see a sort of exuberance like a twilight zone. We call it neo-exuberance or post-exuberance. The final outcome is the diachronic competition and redundancy anxiety, human predicament. How do we map these ecological events to the California dream history? That is the point I will walk you over very briefly. Keep that map in mind, and finally we will visit it again. And most of the slides, present thumbnails I show are present elsewhere in the series. You can look at them at the number. After the Mexican-American Wars of 1848, Americans took over the Californian territory at that time called Alta California, very bigger land, Nevada and the Arizona and all those things. That means essentially 200,000 people used to live there at that time. They took over the entire land and replaced and cleared the forest and all those things for their benefit. That is called taking over. The taking over happened in California, replacing the competitors. Then after 1900s or so, the Continental Railways were built around about 1863, almost at the time of Lincoln's assassination. That is New York on one side connected to San Francisco Bay. Drawdown started in very large scale, drawing down the aquifers, water diversion projects, drilling for the oil. Once it was a major producer of oil, drilling for temporarily available resources, minerals, metals, coal pits, water aquifer, all those things. That happened around about 1900s, as soon as the California was taken over by the Americans. Then age of exuberance. This is general age of exuberance in North America. After European colonists landed there, they invaded the land, and around about 1500, 1600, 1700, 1800. Age, you can see age of exuberance, era of prosperity, growth, affluence, and especially the high standard of living, so on. The age of exuberance in North America, the New World in general. California started immediately after taking over and the gold rush, and especially in the late 1800s and 1900s. The age of exuberance, that's called Californian dream. California dream is a subpart or a major part of American dream, American affluence, we can say. Then what happened after the decline of the World War II? Practically the dream ended, but the residual effects continue. A lot of people are not aware of it, but people who look at the things ecologically, they are more perceptive about what is happening. Diachronic competition means older generation stealing from the younger generation. You generally compete with the contemporaries, your own people. How come the people in 1850s born, they compete with the people 2050s, 200 later? Means they draw down the fossil fuels, water, aquifer diversions, Sacramento Valley, Central Valley, San Juan Wall, deprive all the resources, made the land arid for the coming generation. That is called stealing from the descendants. That has been happening continuously after the annexation of California territory to the America. Then redundancy anxiety. 40 million Homo colossals live there. Redundancy anxiety is the population surplus anxiety. That means a morbid fear, that is, there is an excess human population on the planet Earth, and you are one among them. This unemployment, job termination, lack of admission to a high ambitious or high-end education institution, all are the parts of redundancy anxiety. This started after the post-World War in many parts of the world, and California is no exception. And then the Californians face the major issue, that is the human predicament. That is, there are 40 million colossals living there. They have depleted all their resources. There is a redundant human population there. How to handle this in the coming era? In economic, social, historical terms, that is called job loss, unemployment, people leaving the land, all those things. But ecologically, it is essentially a human predicament, overloading the land with homo colossals. In part 18, we talked essentially about the collapse of American dream, the Canadian dream, Australian dream, the New Zealand dream, and all those things. Essentially, it means all these dreams of this golden lands, land of opportunity, of plenty, all they faltered, not due to any political reasons, not due to any malice from anybody. All were living on phantom carrying capacity, temporary carrying capacity. They were living on the carrying capacity deficits. There is no surplus carrying capacity to support them, so they all faltered. The California dream exactly fits into that faltering or floundering of California dream. Well, the carrying capacity that brings us, that means the MPSL, that's the maximum permissible, the maximum permanently living humans on the load, admissible load. Humans, how many number of people the land can support permanently. Let's say this land can support 400 people. You can put more people temporarily run the phantom carrying capacity, but it's temporary. These 300 people cannot live there. But ideally speaking, when California was annexed, there are 200,000 people. They have plenty of land, a very good, beautiful landscape, no pollution. At the time, the land had a carrying capacity surplus. The people in California, they overloaded the land, and they are now running on carrying capacity deficits. That is the phantom carrying capacity. It is not a real carrying capacity. That what it is essentially for the collapse of California dream or any other dream. So essentially, the Californians previously, when the territory was annexed to the American land, 1850s, there is a plenty of visible acreage. There are 3 acreages. Visible acreage means Californians can see in there 0.4 million hectares, all the things they needed: food, water, shelter, fiber, woods, and everything. There was a plenty. They enjoyed the visible acreage for a couple of years. Then, as the population added more and they are affluent, they are turning into colossal, they started trading. Because it is essentially province or state in the America, you can get it. There is no restriction. But essentially still it is, if you demarcate as a habitat territory, they involved in the trading and getting the resources beyond their political frontiers of Californian land. Of course, they enjoyed a lot of fossil acreages, oils, coals, natural water, and depletable aquifers. So now all these are getting depleted and they are facing serious issues. Visible acreage, invisible acreage, that is trade acreage, and fossil acreage, the Californians, like many parts of the world, enjoyed. Well, that is what we talked about. Generally, you hear a lot about the political history, social history, the presidents, the governors, the senates, how many was this one, that one, the Hollywood, Silicon Valley. This is all political, nothing wrong about it. But that is the world paradigm, the cornucopian paradigm. Dr. Catton gives us a very perceptive ecological paradigm. The cornucopian paradigm doesn't accept or disregards that the planet Earth is limited. There is the limited land, limited water, limited coal, limited oil, everything is limited. Thus they do not regard. They think science will help them. Cornucopian paradigm called cargoism. I talked about elsewhere, you can look at it. And and they disregard the limitations, finiteness of the earth. So we compared, we gone over very quickly the old cornucopian paradigm, the traditional way of thinking, chronologically going over this, and we overlaid that with the ecological paradigm, taking over, drawing down, and Homo colossus nature, age of exuberance, post age of exuberance, neo age of exuberance. That is the diachronic competition. All these are ecological aspects, ecological way of looking at the things, human predicament, redundancy, anxiety, population pressures, chronological history. Here you can look at it. You can stop and look how the ecological, some of the points will map to that. Some of these age of exuberance, post-age, neo-age may just overlap a little bit, but I have given a broader inkling to that, and that's what I wanted to talk today, Mitram and Bandhuvam, about like all other dreams, the American dream, the Australian, Canadian, New Zealand dreams, California dream also ending, or practically ended, the way you look at it. It stares at the golden states, immense carrying capacity deficits. This is the ecological perspective of human history, and humans should be aware they are living in a limited planet Earth, and they cannot do the things they want always. You have to live in the restrictions imposed by the Mother Nature. That is the human ecology. And see you later in other presentations. Thank you very much.